Hey everybody, it's Saturday night and we're not exactly going to take a trip around the world here tonight, but we are going to look at several of my fish tanks. I actually pulled a muscle in my neck throwing snow, despite it being the end of March. We got about a foot the other day and I really twanged something in my neck, so I've not been doing a whole lot except lying down with my neck in a pillow today. So we are going to talk about a few things I want to accomplish down here, not necessarily having done anything today. First of all, if you'll notice, the brackish tank here looks a little dark. It's because my T5 fixture here on the top, the one in the forward area, has burned out again. It's got another tube in there that's not working, and when one tube stops working, they both stop working. So this is the second or third one now in the last couple of months, and so I'm going to assume that something within the unit itself is causing the lights to burn out or causing those tubes to burn out. Maybe the ballast is going up or something, I don't know. But I'm not going to keep putting new tubes in there over and over again. I also threw a bunch of snails in there today that I got from the big chain pet store. But what I am going to do is I'm going to replace that forward fixture with the LED that is on this tank. I was going to just swap them, but since that fixture burns out all the time, I don't see any point in it. So this, if I can turn it on here, that's what the LED unit on the front of this tank does. It's really bright, and it's got the red and blue lights in there. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that in the reflection or not, but it's got the red and blue as well as the white lights there. You can kind of see it with the filter of the cover over it. So it really highlights the blues, it really highlights the reds and oranges, but it doesn't look exactly natural. So we'll see how it looks on there. I like it. I believe it is a current brand LED. I'll look it up. I'll put a link below if you're interested in getting it. It's a 36-inch long unit. It's only that wide, and it's very slimline. It's extremely slimline, and it's very bright too. I believe this is the unit that is recommended for planted tanks. They have a smaller, lower powered unit, but as you can see, this one really packs a wallop. That's without, and that's with it on. So that's probably going to be the unit that goes over and replaces this unit that is my twin T5 unit from Coralife. So I've got several of the 3-foot units like that, and now I'm going to have one less because I don't know what to do with that. If I put it on the front of the tank, we were just looking at, it would only get used once in a while. I only use that forward light there for supplemental lighting. Sometimes when I'm shooting video, or if I just want to show off how colorful the fish are, I'll turn that on. So I can do without it, but at the same time, it is nice to have something there. So if I replace the tube and put it on this tank and we use it once in a while, is that worth it? I don't know. It just depends on what's happening. So that's what's going on between these two tanks. Maybe I'll get a little 2-foot LED and just put it right there on that center panel, because one of the problems I have is this actually goes between one side and the other. It lays over top of it. So if I got a 2-foot, it would lay right on that center section and light up the middle of the tank, but nothing else. So like I said, we'll see. The other thing I've got going on in the fish room is... Alright, Alexa just started talking to me out of nowhere. It scared the hell out of me. Thought I was alone down here, and suddenly someone was talking to me. What was I going to say? That really threw me. Crayfish. Having issues with crayfish in this tank. The last one I thought was about to die the other day, but it waggled its legs again after I put the crushed up eggshells in this tank. So the next morning I saw it had moved, and it was still moving its legs a little bit. And then this morning when I came down, it was pretty much on its back, looking like it looks now. It was in a different place in the tank, but I'm guessing maybe the fish have moved it around or something like that. So I think I finally lost my final crayfish in this tank. I've also lost one of these cheap LEDs here that I have on the top. Oh no, they're all 3 lit now. One of them was flickering really badly this morning, so it's on the verge of being done with, so I'll have to go ahead and replace that one pretty soon too. So the other thing I did with this tank was I ordered some mineral rock or mineral stones that are for shrimp and crayfish. They're little round, beady looking little stones. They're not very big, and they will slowly dissolve into the water, and shrimp and crayfish will actually also eat right off of them and get the minerals they need, and that's exactly what they're designed for. They're designed for shrimp and crayfish to be able to molt properly by giving them all the calcium and trace minerals. So while they wouldn't look right in my T-bar tank, which we'll be looking at in a moment, they'll look fine in this tank. I don't, I've already got a little bit of random black gravel mixed in there, so some whitish gray gravel sort of mixed in with the substrate there is not going to look bad at all, especially since I can just put, handfuls of it sort of behind and down in between the rocks and everything. We'll hardly notice it, but it'll make the tank much, much more conducive for the crayfish to be able to survive in there, and that's good news. I'm happy about that. So I've got that ordered and on the way. So what I've decided to do about this tank, because of the black substrate and has a very much different look and feel to it, I don't want to put that mineral rock in there. The eggshells were just sort of a home done remedy before I really had time to find out about anything else. But now that I've had time to find out about some other stuff, some of my viewers have recommended wonder shells. So I had never wanted to use them before. I always thought wonder shells were something you used to harden your soft water. If you wanted water that was much more suitable to like African cichlids or something like that, you would use these wonder shells in your tank. So as always, it was suggested to me, so I looked it up because I always look up what someone says to me, and it turns out that these wonder shells actually don't raise your hardness or adjust your pH or anything like that. They basically compensate for what gets lost in the tank. They do provide a little bit of minerals into the water, but mainly what it's doing is, as the buffering capacity, the mineral ions in the tank get sort of used up and depleted, it replaces the positively charged, or the cations, I believe they are, and it keeps your tank more or less where it's supposed to be. So if I put some in this tank, it's not going to harden the water, but it will actually help to stabilize my pH, and it will add just enough trace minerals that the snails will do better. And then of course, like the mineral rocks or the mineral stones I'm getting, the snails will be able to graze right on these wonder shells, and they're fairly small, so I can easily tuck them behind a couple of these plants. No one will even notice they're in there. They are white, they are kind of gaudy looking, they're sort of molded into the shape of seashells, your stereotypical seashell. And so, I'm not crazy about the way they look, but I can hide them in this tank easily enough that the snails will be able to get to them, but we won't be able to see them. And then that should be my problem solved. And in fact, based on what I know about what they do, according to their own website, I'm going to go ahead and do some experimenting on my own, testing to see if my pH changes, testing to see if my hardness changes, that sort of stuff. But based on what they claim, they could actually really benefit my tanks. I talk about my water being odd all the time. I've got sodium in it, but I've got no calcium and no magnesium. And even saltwater fish need some calcium and magnesium in their water. So I think my tanks could get a whole lot healthier simply by adding these wonder shells. But we'll find out as time goes on, because I haven't got them yet. So let me get them in the tank, and then we can start doing all the testing and that sort of thing. But they are on order, and I will also put a link to the wonder shells down below. I was able to get 2 3-packs of them. They're fairly small, so I'm going to do 2 per aquarium. We're going to start there anyway and see where we go from there. But I got 2 3-packs of them for like $7.23 or something like that. Really, really cheap. So I will put a link to that down below if you're interested. And lastly, I had something to say about this tank, but now for the life of me I can't remember what it was. I did throw a bunch of snails in this tank today too that I got from the big chain pet store when I was there. I threw a bunch of snails in this tank because of my loaches. I also need to do a water change on this tank. I'm going to try to get that done tonight because it's really overdue. We can see one of my little crabs making a little appearance right there. He lives under that rock. I see him from time to time sticking his little face out right there. And give me half a second here. I'll see if I can see the other one. I cannot. So we got that little guy down there. And then lastly, I will say over here today, what I got while I was at the big chain pet store was that creamsicle lyre-tail molly in the back. It's a beauty. And the reason I got it was because if you'll remember way back in the day, I got a little excuse me, I got a little freebie fish from the big chain pet store that has grown up to be this beautiful little female golden panda or sunset panda molly, but it's supposed to be a lyre tail, and the lyre tail never developed, and so sure enough it's a female, and now I've got a male lyre tail, even though it's a slightly different coloration. And I just thought the creamsicle with that orange panda or whatever they're called is going to look fantastic. So hopefully we'll have some little molly babies happening here in this tank. It won't get overpopulated because of the angelfish, but they're live bearers, so we should see some activity pretty soon, and we should see some little babies starting to develop. And I'm going to be really excited about that because I really like the way that lyre tail back there looks. It's that creamsicle. I even thought about perhaps getting a couple of females and putting them in this tank to go with my orange sail fins, because that creamsicle lyre tail with those orange sail fins, I think those would make some really pretty babies too. So, you know, that's a thought. So there you go. That was my sort of around the world-y kind of Saturday night update on what's going on in my fish room. I got to get to feeding everybody, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to get this water change done on my 29 here. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget that this one here is my brackish tank. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.